Blue Dog Films presents Paid to Dream with Charles Dennis.
Hello, it's Charles Dennis and Paid to Dream. It's a lovely Monday morning. If you like this show, and you better, click like, subscribe, tell your friends. Now, you'll probably recognize this face from Landman or Park and Recreations, but the voice, many voices. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, here's Jim Meskimen.
Hello, Charles. Hello, and hello to your viewers.
Oh, thank you so much. On behalf of all of us, Jim Meskimen, if you go on YouTube, you will see him doing a gazillion different celebrity voices, which he does brilliantly.
Thank you.
I wanted to talk to you about some of the other people who did this in the past.
Okay.
What makes you different from them? Rich Little. Rich Little was from Ottawa.
Yeah.
When he was a kid, he saw the movie of Julius Caesar many times, and so they were doing it at his high school, and he auditioned for the role of Brutus because he did a great James Mason. The problem was he couldn't act. He didn't get the part after. I think they let him go after the first day because he had no concept of acting. He could only, do James Mason.
Yes, a James Mason impression will only get you halfway. You've got to go all the way and try to evoke at least a little bit of that great sensibility that the great actor James Mason had.
Yes. And what's interesting about James Mason, he came from up north, but when he first started in movies and theater, he spoke that way.
Yorkshire, strong Yorkshire accent,
right.
I wouldn't be surprised.
But he got rid of it. But when you see him in movies in the last 10 years of his life, it's like he said, oh, the hell with it, and went back to Yorkshire.
Just like David Hockney did.
That's right. The basic.
A lot of great performers, a lot of great artists come from Yorkshire. I don't know what's in the soil there. I don't know, but obviously productive of a lot of very sensitive people.
Yes, indeed. The other one, who I met because I was directing a musical years ago in London, and they had suggested Frank Gorshin to star in it. Frank Gorshin, the curse for me of Frank Gorshin was he looked like such a mix of Kirk Douglas and Burt Lancaster, these people, that there didn't seem to be a Frank Gorshin. And so whenever I saw him in acting roles, it didn't work.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah. I mean, he didn't stress his acting career quite as much, I don't think. But what a talented mimic. Just extraordinary. And like Jim Carrey, I think, who's a more contemporary kind of mimic who's had careers in both arenas. He would change his whole physiognomy rather dramatically to caricature Kirk Douglas and Burt Lancaster and those guys.
And Richard Widmark.
And the almost forgotten Richard Widmark, yes.
How sad.
Very sad indeed. But I see you've got lots of great stars on your wall and people you've encountered in your life.
Now tell me, because he's a special favorite, Robert Mitchum. Can you do Robert Mitchum?
Oh, he's not really known for his voice, but I mean, Robert Mitchum to me, when I think back on him, he had a kind of a very buried sort of a sound, I guess.
It's a boozy baritone, I describe it.
Boozy baritone. The Boozy Baritone's a good name for a band, by the way.
Ooh, we'll get
or maybe a chorale group. Yeah.
And
I love The Voice. I grew up with The Voice, just having an appreciation for it through my mom, Marion Ross. My father had been an actor. He used to read a lot of poetry. So vocal performance has always been something that just tickled me. And then, I sort of played with it. And I always kind of, like a musician will strum on their guitar endlessly for hours, I would try to do different things with my voice and record myself a lot. And then when I was in my 20s, I found that there was a way to possibly, make a living in this thing called radio, which was still around at that time. and was sort of my wedge into show business was through the voiceover area.
A world I know about as well. You know, I once I was amazed. I never even thought I knew how to do him, but I was hired to do Edward Everett Horton
Oh, yes.
because they were
You
doing
were.
this.
Oh, you were. Oh, I see. I
Yeah,
see.
yeah, yeah. Well, there's a lot of dithering. Once you get the dithering,
He had a lot of dithering, he had a lot of worry, and some
a
very
lot, a
serious
lot.
concern.
You know, Chris Plummer was a very, very dear friend, and he
Ah,
toured as a young man with Edward Everett Horton in a play called Nina. It was a three-character play, and I did this interview with him for my book, which is coming out in October, and I said I was watching him in some old movie the other day. And I said, "Is he doing you, or are you doing him?" He said, "Everything I know about comedy came from Eddie Horton." Doing a year on tour with Horton,
wow,
just
wow, wow.
it all got absorbed. One other guy I wanted to talk about because he was a one-shot impersonator, and that was Von Meter, who did JFK, and his career ended on November 22nd, 1963. I mean, that was
Yeah,
it.
yeah. Not all of not every celebrity can exactly date and time the moment when their career ends.
Yeah,
But,
yeah.
unfortunately, yeah. And I heard another horrible story about Von Meter that he then over the succeeding years, 2 or 3 years after that, he managed to recover, wrote a new act, was launching a new character, and it was Bobby Kennedy.
Oh
I don't
my.
know if I don't know if that's apocryphal or not, but it's the double whammy of super bad luck.
No, I think that he went into a deep depression. I don't think he lived much longer than that because,
Very likely,
I
yeah.
mean, he was hot. I mean, he
He
was
was hot.
everywhere.
He was everywhere. Yeah, I remember. Yeah,
It's the don't put all your eggs in one basket.
not in one. Yes, not in one
Very
basket.
much,
Indeed,
very
indeed.
much.
Yes, yes.
So tell me, is there someone you can't do? Is there someone who sort of has been a challenge? You went, I don't know. It's
Well, most people really. I mean, you're talking about there are actually thousands and thousands of well-known people that I focus in on the ones that I do well. That I admire, that I have a strong affinity for, and that I have the vocal equipment for. Like I can't to do people in their 20s and 30s is a bit of a stretch for me because my instrument, I'm not playing a new violin anymore. My tinny quality, I have this kind of lovely, kind of mellowed sound that I can refer to. But yeah, there are people that I would love to do a little bit better, and I work on them from time to time. I guess I try to come in on them, and generally I find that we all kind of meet around age 70, age 80. We're like, "Yeah, okay." Well, a lot of us sound sort of the same. So I'm waiting out these younger guys. When they get to be in their 50s, maybe I'll be able to hit some of them.
But I like, for example, Tommy Lee Jones, who I believe he's not 80 yet. He must be in his 70s now. But I mean, I've just always respected him a lot, and I love to listen to the way he brings things across. Morgan Freeman is someone that people have been imitating now for quite some time because he has a wonderful, wonderful quality that I think we all just sort of lend a lot of gravitas to, even though he doesn't really assert it himself, which is probably part of the secret.
There's George W. Bush,
oh,
who
oh,
was the president. So there's people like that, and Colin Firth is another one that was also, a little. I think we're about the same age. We have the same birthday, and I don't know if that helps or not. But these are the ones that I focus on, the ones that I can have some success with.
And Patrick Stewart is another who I've been lately compared to physically, and I must say the older he gets, or the older I get rather, and the better looking he gets, the more we tend to converge.
now have you met a lot of these people? Do
No.
they? No.
No, I met and worked with Matthew McConaughey one time, a long time ago in a Ron Howard film. And Ron Howard, I've met Ron Howard many times, of course, because of my association with Happy Days and 5 films that I've done with him.
And I met Sam Elliott not too long ago, once or twice. But who else did I meet?
And Billy Bob Thornton. I met Billy Bob Thornton, and then I began to really kind of hunker down and try to figure out how to
duplicate his terrific signature sound.
Well, that's the thing I want to get into next. I was friends with Tony Perkins the last 7 years of his life. He was my best friend. We hung out all
Wow.
the time.
Wow,
And,
great actor.
I would do these impersonations, and he'd go, you don't sound anything like these people, but my God, the intent. He said, you've got the energy of them. And I thought, well,
Yeah.
that's interesting, like Lionel Atwill. I remember,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And what I found was, yes, you have to sort of assume the physicality first.
That's right.
For me, anyhow.
Yeah, yeah.
Assume the physicality or find that hook, like with Horton, the dithering. I'm just curious how you attack.
Yeah,
subject.
exactly. I don't know whether it's first or if it all comes at the same time, but every personality is a package of items, and it's really a kind of an infinite package of characteristics. It's got sound and pitch and emotion and health and background and experience and physicality and age. All these things sort of arrive in a bunch, and you try to just sort of glom onto it and transmit it into your own equipment. And I know you have experienced this. You just sort of become that person, and they stand differently, they sit differently, they hold their head differently. There's a distinction between that person that is your subject and who you are, and the way that you hold yourself and the way you might express yourself. So, yeah, it's a fun game, isn't it?
Yeah. Tomorrow's guest, Mr. Bryan Cranston, who's an old friend. We had
Okay,
caught-
Bryan
I-
Cranston.
He knew that I was doing you today.
Okay.
And we both wanted to know because here's one that I've never seen anyone ever do an impersonation of. One of the great movie stars of ever, Spencer Tracy.
Yeah, Spencer Tracy. Okay. Well, Spencer Tracy, also another guy who isn't known for his voice. He's known for his kind of the put upon, weary, world weary, pleasant, avuncular sort of guy. I imagine he had certain particular accent points, but he's Middle American as far as I remember. And to me, his voice
Milwaukee, yeah.
in Milwaukee, his voice kind of lays right in here, I think, of this kind of pitch. And he's not a deep voice guy at all. He's not a high pitched guy at all. And he's just sort of, yeah, you never hear anybody doing Spencer Tracy.
No,
You hardly
no.
hear anybody refer to Spencer Tracy at all. But he's got this kind of Mount Rushmore-ish physiognomy. His face is so familiar. It's so iconic and so, we like the pleasant masses of his face so much. There's something you go, that's the guy. If we were all in jury duty together and we all had to sit around and spend endless times waiting in an uncomfortable room, I'd sidle up to that guy and say, "How you doing?"
He also had, and perhaps it's a product of when he started in the theater, he bit the last letter of the word. So he put on his hat. He would hit those things. Nobody
Right.
does it.
Right. Oh, that's a good little point. That's a good little point. Yeah, I just saw him recently. I rewatched It's a Mad, 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 Mad World, and he's playing such an interesting character. It's a comic role for him, and I didn't study his voice particularly. I was just kind of like marveling at the film, which is really, really something. It's quite an achievement, that film. But yeah, the hat was a big deal too. This hat, and
Yeah,
there were
yeah.
plot points that had to do with this hat. Well, tell Bryan Cranston when you talk to him that I'm flattered that he even remembers who I am, and big admirer. I've noticed about Bryan Cranston, by the way, that when he talks, he doesn't really ever put his teeth together, and that for me changes a lot about how a person communicates, because their signature sound, there's a kind of I'm sure it's not intentional, kind of a rictus, you would call it, stiffening of the jaw, which anyway, that's what I have to do. Obviously, he doesn't have to. I'm sure it's very easy for him and relaxed to make this sound, but for me, I have to kind of condense things a little bit.
Well, you got him this time because I saw you on a YouTube thing that you did, and I went, I don't know. And I said to Brian, he said, "Well, I can't tell because I don't know.
Yeah,
It sounds
yeah.
like me."
He'd be the worst
that's-
possible audience for such a thing.
That's the secret to that. Somebody once, going back to Tracy, somebody said, "You don't hear people impersonate him because he's so real that it's not that over the top or slightly over the top you associate with other people."
Yeah, I can see that. Sure, sure. And there's nothing to hang your hat on. There's no accent. There's no weird kind of peculiar. There's no sort of lateral lisp or something. So a lot of actors do kind of heighten certain parts of their expression, and then you can go, oh, like Matthew McConaughey is a kind of example. He's always, taking on this kind of laid back thing, and it got that wonderful accent too. So we can, an impressionist like me has something to hang his hat on. Arnold the same way, Arnold Schwarzenegger the same way. There's so much to kind of lean on.
Yeah, and they lean on trust, and that I trust. There's no J, But Dabney Coleman used to do the best Gary Cooper. I mean,
really?
Just and we were Dantana's one night, and I don't know where it came from because I never knew. I started to do Clark Gable. And he used to say, CD, do Gable. But Dabney, it's always a pleasure meeting with you. That kind of crazy Ohio thing. But I mean, nobody's interested in Clark Gable anymore to do the impersonation.
No. We keep it alive, though, and it's fun. And for the people that like it and appreciate it, like ourselves, people of a certain age, there's a kind of a mystique to it. I wasn't always comfortable at all in my early part of my career doing impressions. I had to kind of weather some stuff and get through some barriers and obstacles in my life. I had some real anxiety about performing in general and performing impressions particularly. And I think it was because, I don't know, I just, I was afraid that people would go, oh, that doesn't sound like him, or you're failing in some way to sound like that. And that was it's really interesting to me now looking back on it. And so much of my career, I've done all kinds of things as you have, but so much of my career has sort of had some relationship to my ability to mimic and perform other people's voices and personalities. It's very interesting that all could have not occurred at all, but as I say, I was in my late teens, early 20s. I was trying to perform theater, feeling a lot of anxiety, and I actually read a book called Dianetics, The Modern Science of Mental Health by L. Ron Hubbard.
Yeah.
Terrific book. And that was what I used to pull myself out of the slough of despond. I had, like I said, this anxiety about performing and worry about being criticized and all these other kind of negative emotions that were just blocking, and totally blocking this area of very strong interest to me. Because I had a gravitic kind of pull towards this practice and this fun, this way of being creative. And then there was just like a stone wall in front of it. Dianetics, Modern Science of Mental Health, totally blew it away from me. And then I was like, okay, let's go. And I started to study improv, and I moved forward with my career, and I've had a really crazy, fun career. So that's what happened there.
Ulrika and I were binging Robert Redford movies this weekend, and I suddenly went, there's someone I've never heard impersonated. Is there a Robert Redford living in there?
Yeah, well,
Fellow Angelino.
Yeah. I've done Robert Redford's voice for a couple of projects.
Oh.
And he almost, to me, sounds a bit like, I put him in about the same place as Bryan Cranston. He has a deep, masculine kind of what used to be what we used to think of as being a kind of a normal man's voice. It's a little bit plummy. It's a little bit, you might call it announcery. But to him, it was natural. He did it his whole life. So I had an uncle. I had an uncle that worked in radio, and this is the way he talked all day long. I was like, well, okay, you can talk any way you want.
I know. Do you ever go places or you're on the phone about something, and the guy goes, "You have a very nice voice. Do you narrate?
Oh, narrate
Yeah.
all the
Yeah,
time.
I narrate. I'm very busy narrating.
That's
Let
hilarious.
me narrate you right now.
Narrate this. Well, yeah, hey, narrate this. Well, I'll
Yeah.
take you outside. I'll show you what narration is really about. I'm going to narrate your ass all the way up and down the block.
How about Leo Gorcey?
Oh, God. I remember his face. I don't remember the voice.
Oh, they're like the Stooges. They've had this huge renaissance on TCM on Saturday
the-
mornings. There's always a Bowery Boys movie.
The Bowery Boys. I was going to ask if it was the Dead End Kids. I get the Dead End Kids and the Bowery Boys and and the
They all sort of meld together.
Backstreet
Hunts
Boys.
Hall and all of them, you know.
yeah.
So,
Yeah.
is Ron Howard the same age as you?
No, Ron's about 5 years older than I am. So Ron he's 70 or 71. So yeah, he's moving on ahead. He's a great director, and I think and I knew his parents very well.
So, did you meet him on the set? Did you go to visit?
Yes, the
Ron?
first time I met Ron Howard, I remember vividly. By the way, my mother had been sort of prepping me over the years to I don't know if intentionally or not, possibly intentionally, to like consider him a kind of I don't know, an inspiration, you know. And when I was a little boy, even before Happy Days, before anything, when my mom was just a working single mom, she would, if Ron Howard came on TV, she would say, "That's Ron Howard," you know. And I was like, "Oh, okay, I'm supposed to remember that. Okay, that's important, you know." And later on, I did meet him finally on the set of Happy Days. I believe it was the first season when they were still single camera at Paramount Studios on a soundstage. And I think I met him and Anson Williams and Don Most in the same moment. The three of those boys were, you know, not quite 20 and having a great time on this set. The pilot had sold, and so they were now in their first season.
And now you have worked for him 5 times.
Yes, I'd love to work with him a few more times. He hasn't used me since Frost Nixon, which was Frank Langella's and Michael Sheehan's great movie. But I worked with him on The Grinch and Apollo 13, 2 really, really fine films I'm very proud of. And I had great experiences. I always enjoy working with Ron. He's a terrific director, as I'm sure you can appreciate it. Being a former actor himself, he knows how to supply not only the actors with what they need, you know, the kind of direction or lack of direction that they need, depending on who they are, but he can now he talks to every department very, very cogently and in a way that they can process that and get something done fast. And that's why he's great. He's a great communicator, great storyteller, and a sweet guy.
You also did The Paper.
Yeah, that was my first film. Had a nice scene with Marissa Tomei. I auditioned for Ron. He gave me this part. I was so nervous. I was so nervous. But I got over it. I got through it. It was a great day. It's a nice little scene. But I tell you, I watched that movie again. It's about the newspaper business. It was done in 1993. No, sorry, 1983. No, God, 93. It was 93. Yeah, it was just when I was leaving New York. 1993, the newspaper business. You watch it now, you might as well be watching Downton Abbey. It's so hoary with age. It's like
Yeah.
phones and the newspaper office and everything is like, we don't do it that way anymore. We don't talk that way anymore. We don't. It's amazing, but it's a sweet movie. But you could be watching the front page or something.
Well, Ulrika's from Sweden, and she had not seen All the President's Men. That was part of our binge. And she said, "Is that what it?" You know, because I had started off as a kid in a newspaper in Toronto, and it was, you know, that world does not exist.
Nope.
No, there are no cell phones. There's no computer. Those guys are typing on typewriters, and as you say, it might as well be the front page. There was that 50 years of the newspaper always looked the same,
That's right.
and then it just didn't.
Just didn't. The bottom
Now
dropped
the
right
newspaper's
out.
online. I mean, I don't get a hard copy of the L.A. Times or the New York Times.
I couldn't be bothered.
Well, yeah.
I've never been a big fan of newspapers. I used to read the funnies all the time because I'm a cartoonist also. So I used to read.
Yes,
the
and I
comic
wanted to talk about that and your oil paints. I wish
Oh, thanks.
I should have given advance notice to put something out here. But look,
Yeah.
can we talk about the cartoon world?
Yeah, that's also a big part of my life. I grew up drawing, trying to draw like the guys in Mad Magazine, and reading Mad Magazine, just adoring that communication. And I was an introverted little child, so I like to be by myself and draw things, and I still like to kind of wander off on my own. Now I draw on my iPad, but I can draw on paper. I can do watercolor. Eventually, I trained to be an artist. Trained, as you mentioned, oil painting. I studied in Spain. I learned really a lot about that life and about painting. And after I'd learned enough about it, I realized, this is a little too lonely for me. I think I want a more social career. So when I was about 23, I decided to go move from Spain, where I'd been studying, Madrid, and then I moved to New York. And that's how I started my career. I supported myself as an actor. I supported myself in my goal to be an actor by doing cartoons, illustrations, portraits, anything I could do. And I had a really good gig, which really saved my ass. I designed cartoon characters for a TV show called Thundercats, which, if you were born in 1970, you would really be into. And that supported me very well, and it actually got me into the animation voiceover world too, when I saw, behind the scenes, what that is like. And so since animation voiceover has been a big part of my career, the professional illustration and cartooning thing I only do now for myself and for friends, and I don't need to do it professionally anymore.
Speaking of Mad Magazine, I wrote a book called The Next to Last Train Ride. The movie version, directed by Richard Lester, was called Finders Keepers, and the poster was done by Jack Davis.
The great Jack Davis. Boy, I
Oh.
can just see it. I can just see it. His style was so iconic. I love Jack Davis. I love Mort Drucker.
Oh,
Sensational artists.
yeah. It's and nobody under 50 knows what the hell we're talking about.
Yeah, they can look it up. They can look it
Yeah,
up.
that's right.
Yeah.
Look it up, pal.
Look it up.
And your daughter Taylor, by the way, Brian Cranston's daughter is also Taylor.
That's right. That's
and,
right.
has just
Probably
been,
also a ginger. I wouldn't be surprised.
ish.
Ish.
Yeah, and your daughter is doing voiceover now as well.
She isn't, speaking of narrators, she is narrating right on the other side of this wall. She is a audiobook narrator of some renown. She's been doing that for at least 10 years and won lots of awards, very good at it. But, of course, she wants to do other things. She's an actress. She just got back from Munich, where she worked on a film. And she is a singer and songwriter. So she's, we have a very artistic family, and we tend to foster that with one another. And my wife runs an acting school. That's what we like to do. We like to make art, and we like to help artists. And that's our deal, So my daughter, I'm very proud of her. She's just, and we do a lot of stuff on social media at Jimpressions on Instagram, and she comes up and she kind of ambushes me, not sabotages
Yes,
me,
I
she
love
ambushes
those.
me. Yeah, the hey dads, we call them.
With the hose. Usually you seem to have a hose in your hand.
Well, that's just a bad habit.
And what on-camera stuff is happening in your future?
In the future, good question. I've got a screenplay that I'm working on getting produced, which will star me, called The Impressionist, and it's a comedy thriller. I hope to be back on Landman. We'll see how that goes. There's an episode of Tracker on Paramount Plus that I just got finished shooting out in the desert here, and I don't know, tons of stuff coming. I've got a Hallmark movie I worked on, and there's a new version of Cat in the Hat, which I have a little part in, which is animated, charming film. So there's lots of stuff, lots of little things. And I really have enjoyed working on Landman, and I hope ardently and passionately to be involved in season 3.
Before we go, I want one last request because I miss him so much. Gene Hackman.
Gene Hackman, the great Gene Hackman. Boy, I can launch right into Gene Hackman. That's like there's nothing separating me from Gene Hackman. The engine room is that way. I've been there.
It's such a great. You know what I love about Gene Hackman is he always found a way to laugh in the line, even if it was completely inappropriate. He would find something funny about it. Loved him.
Love you, man.
Thanks, Charles.
Absolute joy. I intend to do this again with you down the road. But this has been the wonderful Jim Meskimen. Thank you so much, Jim. And if you liked him, of course you liked him. Like the show. Click like. Tell your friends. All right. Over and out.